Welcome back. Welcome to our second segment. The segment is Trade of the Week, and this is for the weekend of April 11, 2026. Well, what can I say? It's these gap plays when they're small, well, they get filled, but then we have these institutional, this huge news driven. On Wednesday, you see we have this huge gap, and we couldn't even. We have talked about if you have a chance watch our videos on the gap trades, and we can see again, like when it's a small gap like this, how easily it was filled, but how we are respecting our again, our lines in the sand, our support and resistances. Um, Gold obviously had based on what was happening, we did have actually Thursday, we had a big drop, and then we see that we had um, a nice up, but then it was corrected. And basically, on a daily basis, what we see is we are sandwiched between the turning line and the standard line. We are right above that 61.8. We are below the cloud. As I mentioned, the DMI negative with the positive. So we are in a neutral zone or a no man's zone. So we need um, more confirmation for a new trade. Again, we have this resistance here. Initially, I had mentioned about we put some trades here, if you recall, but right now we need confirmations. ETF of the week, well, the Bitcoin did very well. So Bitcoin miners, WGMI was up 20%. On the other hand, the Wisdom Tree Cloud Computing, WCLD, was down 12.8%. Speaking of again, Bitcoin, the blockchain ETF was up 15.1%, and the cloud computing continues with CLOU was down 9.7%. Another ETF, you can see how big of a bounce we had. Look what happened with our semiconductor ETF and touching -2 standard deviation. We were in a squeeze. The momentum has already had started changing, and then the A waves started getting positive, and boom, broke above the 21 day, and now we are outside the 2 standard deviation. So let's watch this. Let's see if the slope changes. And also we want to watch, I would go to 60 minutes and watch also the weekly on this. Also, the financials had a very good jump, but again, like S&P and Nasdaq, we see we are right against um, down slope LRC and against the 2 standard deviation, had to squeeze fire to the positive. So let's see if you will have retracement. Remember, there's earnings coming up. Our favorite, the Magnificent Seven, but also we have Intel. And one of the biggest movers, I added this, that was Broadcom. Look at these huge, huge moves. You see how much of, in a sense, relief was there. And we see, I added actually Intel as well. Uh, Huge move. Again, we talked about semiconductors, Amazon, a big one. Um, but I mentioned about Broadcom, Google, they're all broken above their 50-day and 20-day moving average. Then we see Nvidia, a nice move. Meta had a nice move, but where did it go? Against its 50-day moving average. Micron, nice move, broke above the 50-day. Magnificent 7 ETF right against 50-day. Apple right against 50-day. You can see not you compare Apple with all the other, we see that there is still consolidation and resistance. Microsoft couldn't budge, couldn't do anything, and Tesla. We'll talk a little more about Tesla. Every time it has gone against 20-day moving average, it has been rejected. And look at the gap, the steady gap between 50 and 20-day moving average, even a very weak bounce on Friday. So Apple stayed within its expected move, touched the upper edge, but the expected move has narrowed. And then once we see here, one of the reasons from technical point of view, look, we went hit the upper edge I mean, the lower edge of our cloud, and also on a weekly against the turning line. On the other hand, on a monthly, we have bounced off the turning line. Um, on 60 minutes. I want to show you 30 minutes. So we need like, I'll start with 10 minutes. We got a positive. Now we are moving. The ADX is flat right now, but the DMI positive crossing, we need to break above the cloud. That gives us one positive. The 30 minute is already positive and 60 minutes is positive. So those are giving us, we need this breakout and then obviously, we want to break above at least uh, this resistance. So we do have some resistance in the long run. As far as Amazon, we see how nicely the DMI positive just broke way above the negative, and we broke above this resistance on the cloud. As far as Meta, again, I mentioned um, we are against the moving averages on a monthly. We see how we bounced off our standard line, but we have on a weekly this resistance. As far as Microsoft, nothing couldn't do, just hit the upper edge and came back right, done, did nothing. And Nvidia nicely above its upper edge of expected move, but it is Tesla, which is a concern. Look, it stayed right on the lower edge of its expected move. And when we look at the clouds, we looked at the moving averages, we look at what is happening with the DMI negative and positive with the momentum ADX. Still, there is momentum. And we have this downward move, keep going down, turning line, standard line, below the cloud. The lagging line is below the cloud. So for squeezes, this week we chose the Dow Jones Industrial Average. There were five candidates, Visa, Johnson& and Johnson, Merck, McDonald's, and Amgen. Now, this week, it's important. So we have all these uh, earnings coming up. I would say I'll start with the Goldman Sachs, and then we have BlackRock, Citigroup, Johnson& Johnson, JP Morgan, Wells Fargo. So Tuesday is the bank day. Then we have semiconductors like ASML. Again, we go to banks. We have the Bank of America, uh, Kinder Morgan, M&T Bank, Morgan Stanley, PNC, Progressive and insurance side of things. Then we get to healthcare, Abbott Labs and Alcoa, BNY and other banks, Citizen Financials, KeyCorp. So you can see quite a few, again, financial reporting coming up. So please pay attention to next week. Very much financial oriented. With that in mind, I hope you have a wonderful week, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye now.